So I'm here today joined with Alex Blake from P.M.A, obviously. So thanks for coming on, Alex. At such short notice, actually. So we appreciate you coming on here. And I think this is going to be a real sort of eye-opener for some of our followers and some of our listeners and watchers, when it comes down to this interview, because I know obviously you're going to tell me in a moment about what your company's about, but you obviously started it up in between the last two lockdowns. That was always been something we're going to do. But yeah, if you want to tell us what P.M.A obviously is about, and we'll get into some of the questions.
Yeah, sure. So P.M.A, obviously, first of all, P.M.A stands for positive mental attitude, obviously, because why would you want to be negative? You won't get anywhere, kind of thing. That was the kind of jokey side to it. But there's a serious side to it, and it's basically a mental health business primarily. And I want to kind of raise awareness of mental health struggles and help people manage stress in the workplace, whether there's a company or even universities, schools, etc. Everyone has stress in their lives, and it can be a good thing, but when it becomes so consuming and difficult to function day to day, that's when you can get kind of difficulties along the way. I've had issues myself with mental health for quite a few years, and now I'm hopefully at the other side of it, and have been for a few years now. I felt like I could do something with this and give something back to others. So basically working with anyone really who needs the help, basically, whether that's a group or individuals, just either one-to-one sessions or in groups of say 10, 20 or more.
And I think for me, if some of these questions I'm asking in a moment, Alex, I think are really going to be an eye-opener for people of how probably much of a struggle this has been, this lockdown for some people.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure you'll go into in a moment.
But it's obviously lockdown has its own challenges. Obviously, coronavirus, no one could predict it, and it's obviously unprecedented times. But there is things you can do, even when you're locked down and isolated. There's still things you can do to still enjoy life, if that makes sense.
I had a chat with a couple of the guys yesterday on these similar interviews, and for me, a massive thing, structure. I'm always usually at the house running, 100 miles an hour, and I've got time to do things. I've been cooking, things like that at a meal in the evening. But it's definitely, I think it's great what you're trying to do, and thanks again for coming on board and having this chat today. So should we get in with question number one?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So question number one. So since the restrictions have eased, what would you say has been the biggest change to your business?
Well, as I kind of only set up in September of this year, after a few months of planning, I haven't seen too much of a change really. It's just been that the whole business has been functioning online. So obviously I've had to get used to technology, I suppose, and be able to speak to people like we're doing now on Zoom or Teams or Skype or whatever it is. So obviously you've got the issues with technology like Wi-Fi going down, or maybe posing a question to someone and there's a delay and then there's a silence and you don't know if they're ignoring you or just don't want to answer or whatever. But those are probably the main challenges. But as I'm still a fairly new business, then I can kind of just adapt to that as I go along, I guess.
Of course, no, brilliant. No, I bet it's I can sit here and say I've definitely had some of those questions been asked, and a very long pause after, and trying to see if you have to ask it again. Definitely. This one will be quite interesting to hear what your thoughts are on there. And question number two is: during this pandemic, have you learned any valuable lessons that you wish to share with us?
I would say this year more than any, it's just mental health should be a priority. If not number one, it's got to be up there. Looking after your own well-being. I think obviously before the pandemic, mental health was still a crisis in the UK as well as other countries. But the pandemic's kind of highlighted how many people are struggling. I think, without getting too dark, the suicide rates are increasing and people are suffering with mental health a bit more because they're isolated, there's less they can do. And they're kind of they're forced to acknowledge what thoughts they have on a daily basis, I guess. And there's less things to distract them around the house. So I think as I say, the main thing would be mental health has to be like kind of number one or up there with just being happy in yourself and doing things on a daily basis that you enjoy doing.
I must admit, I mean, for me, I've got a couple of ex-colleagues I used to work with who I know are on their own. So for me, it's been paramount for me to make sure I check in with them once a week to make sure they're okay. You know, telephone call. I think, you know, the last lockdown when they eased a little bit, you know, the guy, I was going out on my morning bike ride and I was sort of riding past his house just to give him a quick wave just to make sure he's okay.
It makes a difference. It makes a difference, definitely.
Steps like that. No, I agree. I certainly agree there. So, question number 3 is again, I've had some funny answers on this one. So, you know, I'll let you listen, be business or personal. And that's if you ever tried to set the lockdown restrictions, what would you implement and why?
Wow. Okay. Well, first of all, probably don't put me in charge of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'd say with the tiered system, I think that's what the government implemented was quite a good system. Obviously, there's certain areas in the UK where they're not as affected as others. So I'd say the tiered system would be a good thing because I think we have to be getting back to normal as much as we can do, because otherwise the longer this goes on, people are isolated, the more people are going to struggle with their mental health, and the uncertainty of the future, worries with stress, worries with money, etc. So I think the tiered system is good because it allows maybe some parts of the UK to go out to the shop or a restaurant with obviously the social distancing guidelines, etc. And that's probably the main thing I would say I would implement would be the tiered guidelines.
Yeah, very similar to ours. I guess though the gent felt that, you know, it was we seem to be okay down here on the south coast, so it's sort of, you know, but I can understand, you know, I completely agree there. Next is, what do you enjoy most about the new normal?
I would probably say flexibility. Before a lockdown, I'd never worked from home before, so it was quite a concern for me, thinking how would I be on my own kind of thing. But the flexibility of well, you can maybe start a bit earlier, take a lunch a bit. You're not kind of strictly routine, or you've got to take your lunch at 1 or whatever. And there's less, I personally think there's less distractions working from home because you're not in an office with like 20, 30 other people coming up to you asking questions. So you can focus on what you're doing a lot easier and get your work done quicker. But I think the best thing would be to have the option to work from home or be in the office. So you've got still the interaction with your colleagues, you can catch up, get updated with what the workloads are at and things like that. But you have the option to work from home if you had an appointment to go to or doctors or whatever. It just makes it easier, and there's no commute. So obviously, I'm sure I'm the only one that doesn't like the daily commute in the morning and all the traffic for like half an hour each time. It cuts that out of it as well. So that's obviously a good thing as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's quite nice. I mean, we had our offices were open during the last 2 lockdowns, and it's quite nice. We had sort of an A team and a B team. If you wanted to go in, you could go in, and it worked really, really well.
Yeah.
Question 5, and last but not least, and we'll go on to discuss obviously a bit more about obviously what you can offer businesses, etc., things going forward. But question 5: if you could be anywhere in the world right now without COVID-19 being an issue, where would it be and why?
I would say, I did think about this for a while, and I'd probably say America. Just purely because I've never been to America for one, and obviously it's such a big country compared to the UK, and there's they do things a lot differently over there, I suppose. But it's a goal of mine to, if I can hopefully make my business a success over the next 5 to 10 years in the UK, I would like to expand it to America and places like that, just so I can reach out to numbers and help more people that are going through mental health struggles, basically. Obviously, I think 1 in 4 will suffer a mental health issue every year. And that's probably going to be increasing with the lockdown and isolation. So there's a lot of people in the world, there's millions, if not billions, that are suffering. So basically, just America would be a good place to start, I think.
Well, I think it will keep you busy for a few years, how big it is over there.
No, it's quite a big
country. No, definitely. But look, thanks so much for coming on. And you know, I'll just say is, you know, hats off to you for what you're trying to do. You know, and I know obviously, we've known of each other for a few years, and I've known, obviously, you've been through a dark time when you're coming out the other end. I think it's absolutely brilliant what you're trying to do in trying to help others. Now, did you just want to have a quick sales pitch of what you can do and what you're looking for people, and we'll end it on that?
Yeah, sure. So as I said, I'm basically the focus of the business is to help people manage stress in the workplace, or if they're at university, managing their stress levels with deadlines, etc. So giving insights to how I cope, spotting the signs and the symptoms, how to approach a colleague or a fellow friend or someone that may be struggling, and help them get the support, and how to deal with maybe a crisis. So that's the kind of group side of it. And then individually, I want to work with individuals to create a positive, resilient mindset to overcome life challenges. If something's holding them back, if they're holding themselves back or whatever. I want to work with people because hopefully I'm living proof that you can get past your mental health issues. And if you can learn to think in a certain way that allows you to go for it rather than hold you back, it can open up so many opportunities to you.
That's absolutely brilliant. I wish you all the luck in the world to that you're successful and go forward. But lastly, how are they going to get in contact with you?
I didn't say that, did I? So I'm on social media. So if you search for P.M.A, obviously, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I've got a website, pmaobviously.co.uk as well. All my contact details are on there, and if you want to reach out to me on social media or via the website, then I'll be happy to help.
Brilliant. But Alex, thanks so much for coming on, and I wish you all the best of luck.
No problem, Dan. Thank you very much.